Hi everybody, welcome to our week 10 quiz tutorial. This week you guys were working on solving quadratics by factoring and then working on some application problems or some word problems. So for our weekly quiz, the first one I had you guys do is solve by factoring. So to solve by factoring, you should get it in standard form first, which is where everything is on one side of the equation, it equals 0, and everything's all multiplied out. And I actually started you guys off in standard form, so we're ready to go. The next thing after standard form is that you factor it. So that's what I asked for in part A, is I just wanted to see that middle step. I wanted to see your factored equation. So if you factor the left side, it is a trinomial, so we're going to do guess and check factoring. And then the first term should multiply to give you 2x squared. So to get 2x squared, I'm going to have 2x times x. The last term should multiply to give you negative 6. So what I know is that my signs are opposite. One's negative and one's positive. And if I get it wrong, all you have to do is switch the signs around, okay? Then I'm trying to get 6. So my options are either 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. You can try either one. So let's say that I want to start with 3 and 2 because I happen to know that that one works out well. One little hint for you guys when you're factoring by guess and check is that if there's no GCFs, there's no greatest common factors in the original problem, there will not be any GCFs in either of your parentheses. So when I'm trying to think about where to put the 3 and where to put the 2, I am not going to put the 2 in the same parenthesis as the 2x because then it would have a GCF and the original doesn't. So that can cut down a little bit on your guessing. I know that the 2 would have to go here, and the 3 would have to go with the 2x. Okay? Then you check to see, did it actually work? So the outer product, 2x times 2, would be 4x. The inner product, negative 3 times x, would be negative 3x. And 4x plus negative 3x is positive 1x, which is my middle term. It's factored correctly, okay? So now that I know that it's factored right, I'm ready to solve for x. So to solve for x, you're using the zero factor property, and that says that if two things multiply to give you 0, somebody's got to be 0. That's the only way that that happens. So what you do is set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So my first factor is my first parenthesis, 2x minus 3. My second factor would be x plus 2. So I'm going to have 2x minus 3 equals 0, and x plus 2 equals 0. Those are my two possibilities for answers. And then you solve your little equations. So in the first equation, I would add 3 and then divide by 2. So x would be 3 halves, or 1.5 if you like mixed numbers, or 1.5 if you like decimals, okay? In the second equation, with x plus 2 equals 0, I would subtract 2 from both sides. And so x would equal negative 2. So those are my two answers, are 3 halves or negative 2. In my math lab, they do set notation. It kind of looks like that. And so you should be just listing them. So it'd be 3 halves, comma, negative 2 in the box that they give you. All right, let's go on to number 2. Number 2 is a word problem. It says the hypotenuse of a right triangle is 2 centimeters longer than the longer leg. The shorter leg is 7 centimeters shorter than the longer leg. Find the lengths of the sides of the triangle. Okay. Sometimes, especially if it's visual like this, it's a great idea to start out with a picture. Okay, to see what we have. I know I have a right triangle, so I'm going to draw myself a right triangle to the side. And label my right angle. So in my right triangle, I know that I have a hypotenuse. That's always the longest side, and it's always across from the right angle. I know that the legs of the right triangle are not the same length. I have a longer leg and a shorter leg. So I'm just using L for longer leg and S for shorter leg and H for hypotenuse. Okay? Then let's look at the problem. The hypotenuse is 2 centimeters longer than the longer leg. So hypotenuse is, so that's hypotenuse equals 2 longer than the longer leg, so that would be 2 more than L. Or 2L plus 2. Okay? The next sentence says that the shorter leg is, so S equals 7 centimeters shorter than the longer leg. So that would be 7 less than L. Okay. Find the lengths of the sides of the triangle. So whenever I have a right triangle and I'm looking at side lengths, my first thought, hopefully, is Pythagorean Theorem. So just reminding you guys what the Pythagorean Theorem is. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are the lengths of your legs. C is the length of your hypotenuse. Okay. So using the information we have, we can actually do all of it with one variable, which is great, which makes it easier for us to solve. So we can set up this entire equation with just L's. And that's what I'm looking for in part A. Okay? So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So first leg, so L minus 7 squared plus b squared, so my other leg, which would be L squared, equals my hypotenuse squared, which would be L plus 2 squared. Okay? That's the setup for this. And also, if you have like your A and your B switched, we are okay. Addition is commutative. It doesn't matter what order you add things in. Okay? But the hypotenuse should definitely be on the other side. We should definitely have an L plus 2 on the other side. But that's the setup for this one. In part B, I want you to actually solve it and find all 3 lengths. I want to know the long side, the short side, and the hypotenuse. So let's do that. So for solving, first thing I want to do is get it in standard form. And to get it into standard form, I'm going to need to distribute a lot. So when I have L minus 7 squared, just reminding you guys, that's L minus 7 times L minus 7. And we have to distribute that. So we would have L squared minus 7L minus another 7L plus 49. Okay? So don't forget to distribute and do all of your multiplication there. Continuing with our equation, we have a plus L squared. And on the right side of our equation, we have L plus 2 squared, so that would be L plus 2 times L plus 2. And again, you need to distribute. So L times L is L squared. You'll have L times 2, which would be 2L. You'd have 2 times L, which would be another 2L. And 2 times 2, which would be plus 4. Okay. Then let's go ahead and combine some like terms and simplify it a little bit. So on the left side, I have an L plus L, L squared plus L squared, which is 2L squared. I have a minus 7L and a minus 7L, which would be minus 14L. And then I also have a plus 49. On the right side, I have L squared. I have 2L plus 2L, which would be 4L. And then we have a plus 4 as well. Alright, now that everything's all multiplied out and simpler than it was before, let's get everything on the same side so that we're in standard form. So to get it into standard form, I need to get everything on one side, so I will subtract L squared from both sides. I will subtract 4L from both sides, and I will subtract 4 from both sides. Because that cancels everything on the right side, we'll have it equal to 0. On the left side, 2L squared minus L squared is L squared. Negative 14L minus 4L is negative 18L. And 49 minus 4 is positive 45. Okay? We're finally in standard form. Okay? So we are where we were at the very beginning of number 1, in case you're curious. So we are ready to factor it and solve it. It is another guess and check factoring. So I'll start out with 2 sets of parentheses. The first times the first gives you L squared, so that would be L times L. The last times the last multiplies to give you positive 45, so I know that they are the same sign. Looking at the middle term, it's a minus 18, so I'll have minus and minus to get there. And then we've got some options with 45, right? So with 45, you could have 9 and 5, you could have 15 and 3, you could have 45 and 1. The way that you're going to get 18, though, is with 15 and 3. Because negative 3L plus negative 15L is negative 18L. Okay? Then you set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So we'll have L minus 15 equals 0, and we'll have L minus 3 equals 0, and we'll solve our little equations. For the first one, I'll add 15 to both sides, so that means that L equals 15. For L minus 3 equals 0, I would add 3 to both sides, so that means that L equals 3. So we've got two possible answers. Let's see how they work out with everything else. So what we're going to do from here is look at the other side lengths. So if L is 15, then S, my shorter leg, would be 15 minus 7. So 15 minus 7 would be 8. My hypotenuse would be L plus 2, so 15 plus 2, which would be 17. And our units are all in centimeters. So my longest side is 15 centimeters, my shortest side is 8 centimeters, and my hypotenuse is 17 centimeters. And that works out pretty nicely. Looking at our other possibility with L equals 3, that would mean that my short side would be 3 minus 7. So 3 minus 7 would be negative 4, and I cannot have a side length that is negative. So that just doesn't work. Sometimes you will get two sets of answers, that's fine. And sometimes you'll only get one, and sometimes you'll get none. So you have to check and make sure that they all work out. Hope this helps you guys, and hope you all have a wonderful week and a safe week.